everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Hi everyone, I'm Iredafe Owolabi, but you can call me Dafe for short. I'm a professional software engineer. I'm an author of 17 books. I'm also a creativity coach, and I help people, busy moms and busy dads, who have ideas in their heads, but they don't know what to do with them, and they are heading to the grave with those ideas. I help them turn those ideas to books or products.
Where are you calling from, though? That's what we want to know, Daffy.
Oh, yeah, I'm calling from Canada, specifically Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Yeah.
Great Providence, right?
Yeah, it's a province in Canada. Alberta is a province in Canada, and Calgary is one of the biggest cities in Alberta.
Can we go ahead and dig into your past leading up into your present, and then I'm gonna pick you for questions, okay?
Absolutely. So a bit about my background. I was born into a family of three, and I was the last child of three kids. And not just that, I was the only boy. So I was brought up with that, you know, tenderness from my parents. And my two elder sisters probably didn't really like that because they felt like I was giving special treatments from time to time. So I always felt like I was alone and they were, in their own bubble. So sometimes when I try to go play with them or go to their room and be part of their discussions and conversations, they would always like tell me, "Hey, what are you doing here? Go to your room and whatnot." So that was part of my childhood, and I think that also contributed to my personality because it helped me to, enjoy my own company and enjoy being around myself all by myself. So that also, pushed me to learning and reading books because reading was like a way to transport myself into a different location and help me distract myself from what I would term as loneliness at that time. So that was what basically underscored my past. And then I went through school and I discovered myself, I discovered purpose, I found my passion for reading, for teaching, for speaking to crowds and inspiring people. I got into the university. I became, a leader of an organization, a fellowship organization where I would mentor people, mentor teenagers, mentor youths who were also in their school process trying to also get a degree like I was. But they all saw me like a leader because of that power I had to communicate, that energy I had to inspire people. And then I came out of school, and back there in Nigeria, there's a program, a 1 year program. We call it youth service, where people who come out of school are able to serve the
Hold
country
on for
in.
a second. For a second, the university that you was at, how does it differ? And then you can get back on subject, but how does it differ from the universities here in America?
It differs a whole lot. I do not know much about how universities work in America, but I do know from what I've heard and from what I've read and from what I've seen in movies that universities back home is really different, especially with the system and the modality around how they teach and around how students are graded. So in the university, you'll be given a bunch of materials. Sometimes you won't even be given a bunch of materials. You'll just be giving a bunch of lectures in a rowdy classroom, in an overpopulated classroom with poor public, public address system. Sometimes you can barely even hear the lecturer, and the lecturer will just, come do what they want to do and leave the classroom. So we'll be left by ourselves to figure
So
out
they
what
pay for
what was actually taught.
education. They pay for education just to play around. Some of them.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
generally the goal for everyone then was to just come out of school, get good grades by cramming a bunch of text and a bunch of materials. So that was what the system was like, and I believe that's quite different from how things are done. Like you could learn computer engineering in school, but never see a computer because everything will be done in an abstract way on the blackboard or on the whiteboard. So that was the experience.
What
I,
did you do with your degree? What did you do with your degree?
that's
You
a
work
good
for Facebook now?
That's a good question because I actually did nothing with my degree. I hated what I studied. I actually studied chemical engineering in school, and just like what I've said previously, the experience wasn't that great. We were taught chemical engineering with little exposure to these things in practice. And even though we had a decent laboratory, but the things were abstract. The topics, the subjects, everything was abstract. And I already knew while I was in school that I would not be able to get a job with what I was being taught because the job market was, broken. There were little to no jobs for people who were in the average or middle class. So my mind was definitely somewhere else because I had discovered myself. So I just spent most of my time in school inspiring people, building my communication skills, and growing my followership around the school there.
Okay, so tell me, like, despite that, tell me more about the communications program and how you inspired people. How did you do it exactly?
Great. So I was elected to be the leader of a fellowship, and part of the responsibilities of that position was that I would need to talk to people, I would need to counsel people, I would need to advise people on a regular basis, and I would also be required to teach them in our in our public meetings. I also had responsibility to organize like campus wide meetings where I would gather people, thousands of people in a public area within the school premises and invite a guest speaker where I'll get to speak, the guest speaker will get to speak. So all these things gave me the opportunity to really grow in my confidence, in my public speaking abilities. In fact, the first time I spoke in public, I did not know that I had the ability to wow an audience, but I found out that I had a unique way of getting people to, smile and laugh, even though I wasn't cracking a joke, just because of the way I would speak and communicate my ideas to them. So from there, I started as a secretary of that, organization or fellowship, if you call it that. And from there, I grew and rose to be like the leader, the coordinator of that fellowship. So that really grew me in leadership, grew me in communication, and grew me in teaching, in being able to, you know, transfer energy, transfer ideas to people with the use of my words, to articulate my ideas with the use of my words.
Well said, by the way. So tell me more about your books. Tell me two books and two excerpts from your book.
Can you say that again?
Can you tell me about two books that you've written? Because you've written 17 books. How
Yeah.
long did it take you to write 17 books? Number one.
Okay. So my first book came out like an accident. I wrote that first book like an accident, and that book I was just posting stuff on social media, posting stuff on Facebook, and I would see people responding in the comments, and people would be like, wow, this is great, this is inspiring, this is powerful. And then I just kept doing it. And after 1 week, people started asking me, when is the book coming out? When is the book coming out in comments? And I was like, what book are you guys talking about? I'm just here expressing myself and writing my thoughts. And you're asking me when is the book coming out? It felt crazy to me, but I just kept doing what I was doing until one day a professor called me and he was like, he's seen all the content I'm putting out there and he likes them and he wants to find out if I'm writing a book because he wants to use some of my Facebook posts to facilitate a training, but he just wanted to seek my consent. And then I had to take a step back and really ask myself that question: are you writing a book or not? And then I told him, okay, let me get back to you on this. So that was my first book, and it was a book around the kingdom. So to your question about two books that I would like to tell you about, the first book I wrote, that one is titled Kingdom Verities, and it was just about me putting down the different ideas and thoughts that I had around the kingdom of God at that time that I had not heard anywhere else. Now, the next book I would like to speak to would be my most recent book, which is tagged or titled Ignite Your Creativity. And that one took me 5 years. The first one took me 30 days because I was just going to put together my Facebook posts and flesh it out and turn it into a book. But the 17th one took me 5 years. Why? Because life happens, right? I got the idea for the 17th book in 2019. And how did the idea come? The idea came, I was invited to speak in an in a convention with over 1,000 attendees, and I spoke on what I titled Creativity Accelerator. After that seminar, after that teaching, after that session, I came down the podium, I sat on my seat, and someone 2 seats away from me reached out to me and was like, "That was so powerful. I was so inspired. Do you have a book on what you just shared?" And I said, I have another book that talks about creativity, but I don't have a book that captures exactly what I just shared. And he was like, "Wow, okay, give me the one you have." He bought that one on the spot. And then he said, "I still need a book that contains what you just shared, because what you just shared, those bullets you received has have left me have left me in a state that I can't even explain." So I could see in his eyes that hunger, that yearning, and that longing for more. And when I looked into his eyes, I didn't just see his eyeballs, I saw millions of people also crying for a book that would help them ignite their creativity and
Love it.
manifest their creativity. So that set me on a course. That was what, you know, impregnated me with the idea to write my 17th book. But that was 2019. I could have as well written that book in 30 days because it was going to be about what I just shared on stage, right? But something just held me back. I kept, procrastinating. Life happened. I got married. I was already married at that time, but we were trying to move to Canada. I was trying to transition my career. I kept procrastinating. And long story short, last year,
Why did you
2023,
why did you procrastinate? I apologize. Why did you go procrastinate? What was in your mind? What you mean by
what was,
life?
yes, what was in my mind was that maybe this is not the right time. Well, I have a family to take care of. I have a wife. I have a job to work. I have a career to transition. I have this and that. I have to, keep things going. Maybe writing a book now is not the best for me. But as I began to go through life, I saw that 5 years had gone by and I had not written that book. I was pregnant. I was like a woman who was pregnant but did not know how to, push out that baby and probably needs assistance to, be
Yeah,
operated on and to get that baby out. So I
yeah.
said to myself, well, this life is not going to get less busy because I had a daughter in the process of those 5 years, and I was like, life is even getting busier as far as I know. And except I'm going to wait till she turns 18 and moves out of the house, it means I just have to figure out a way to do it. And that was what helped me come up with lots of different systems to write your book fast and deliver it out there to the world. And so when I delivered my 17th book, someone asked me, say, how do you write books so fast? Like, you have a framework that you use to write books so fast? And that's a question many people get to ask me from time to time. And that caused me to develop a coaching program to help people write their first book in 30 days. So that's the backstory behind my coaching program. But I just wanted to talk about it in view of how that 17th book set me on the path that I'm currently on.
So tell me, you've written these 17 books and it took you 5 years for one of them. Do you think it got easier as it went along? Once you broke it in?
Yes, because when I wrote my first book, I figured out that this thing was actually easy. And when I launched it and I saw how much money it made me, it also felt good. And then I was able to replicate that system for my second, third, and fourth book. In fact, my second, third, and fourth book was a series. So I went for it like right off the bat. I wrote 3 books in 6 months. And then I saw that, wow, this thing feels good. And I just kept writing books. I wrote one of my other books that's on entrepreneurship that teaches people how to write books. I wrote that one in 30 days also. And when it came to the 17th one, it just was a web of procrastination. I'm glad that happened, because if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have understood in detail the challenges and the pain that potential authors go through who end up going to the grave without ever fleshing out their books, without ever gifting the world with their ideas packaged in form of a book. So it got easier, it got systemic, it got systematic. I came to discover the patterns that, you know, I could deploy if I wanted to write a book. And I saw it working for me, right? So that is something that many people don't know. And that is something that I've come to discover in my experience writing 17 books in the past 6 to 8 years.
Wow, so 6 to 8 years, you like a master at this, almost a
Yeah,
doctor, probably a doctor at this.
you can say
Yeah.
that again.
So tell me about your journey in Nigeria a little bit. We talked about it before the show. Tell me about your journey and what you why you wanted to move over to the States in Canada to be specific.
Sure. So like I outlined in my earlier responses when I talked about my experience in school, coming out of school, I knew I wasn't going to get a job with what I studied in school because everyone was pretty much in that same boat, except you were born into a highly affluential or influential family, or you were born into a rich family that knew how to press the right buttons. So I didn't have all of that luxury and privileges. So I knew that wasn't going to be my story. And interestingly, I wasn't even interested in that being my story because I had figured out my purpose, I had figured out my vision. So I came out of school and started working on, fulfilling that purpose. And so a time came when the economic landscape of Nigeria began to, change. A new government came in with lots of promises and then did not fulfill on those promises and
Boy,
even
those
brought the company.
promises, those promises always go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so situations tanked, situations worsened, and, things just kept getting worse. The economy was, going down. And as I'm speaking to you now, it's even way worse than it was when I left, right? But as at that time, I saw that this thing wasn't working again. And I didn't mind staying because I felt like, well, you can succeed, you can thrive even in the midst of adversity, even in the midst of economic downturns. Because I used to read a lot about the Great Depression in the US and how FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, turned the situation around, turned the economy around, turned the nation around, and set it on course for what it is today. So I knew that, well, I could still make a good life here, but my wife didn't want to, wait too long to see that happen. So she inspired us to move, and after a lot of persuasion,
Remember,
I
the woman
obliged.
is always right. The woman is always
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can say that again, and I don't doubt that. I don't think I don't think that is, incorrect assertion, because I see a lot of, doors have opened to us because we took that, chance, and we made that move, and things have actually taken a better turn since we moved. But that was generally the story behind it. Things were not working as they should. The country was not working for the youth, and where I felt God was taking me, I felt like it would have taken more effort and more time to get there if I hadn't moved.
tell me where do you see Mr. Is it called Iredafe?
Yeah,
Iredafe?
Iredafe or Dafe for short.
How do you see Mr. Iredafe going in the future? Where do you see with you and your wife and your family? Because the wifey always suggests stuff for you, and they're always right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, in the future, I see myself, doing great things, helping people manifest their creativity, helping people who are pregnant with ideas, gifts, talents, skills, and don't know what to do with them, potentially heading for the grave with those ideas, and know they are heading for the grave but don't know how to make a U-turn. I see myself helping these people birth their grandchildren. I see myself helping people manifest their creativity in a grand style. I see myself working with high level individuals, professionals, entrepreneurs of high net worth, helping these people master the business of their creativity. I see myself helping people write their books that they've always wanted to write for years, but didn't know where to start, how to start, if to start, or how to finish. I see myself, doing all of these things and building that empire that I've always dreamed of in the next couple of years. And it's not long anymore. It's just right at my doorstep.
Wow. Have you ever did TEDx yet? Because if you can write them a good, thorough paragraph. It's free to sign up, but how they look at you is totally based on what you say to them. I've been trying to get in for years. Then they got programs where you can pay to get into TEDx or by referral. You know, he say, she say type thing. But what is your insight on that? Have you ever been, with TEDx?
I haven't explored that idea before, but I've seen different people go on those platforms. I haven't actually nurtured that idea before because I didn't even know that it was as easy as you described. And well, thanks to having this conversation, now I know. Probably that's something I would explore in more detail afterwards.
Also, I see you do coaching. Maybe you should do like a webinar type thing, and make it readily available. I'm pretty sure you know people by now. See, it's harder for me than it is for you. Seeing as though, you have a wife and children, you have connections. I don't have nobody except my clients that I interview. So, what I wanted to know is if you know somebody, you can probably get word of mouth or even do it for children. Go into you have the outlet, go into elementary, middle, and high school, and try to have webinars where you show them at a young age. That would be so perfect to show them at a young age how to write books. Come on now, that would be perfect. How you think about that?
Wow, that's actually fantastic. I've actually had some parents here in Canada reach out to me and like they don't know what to do with their children for the summer break and wondering if I had a program for them. And I'll be like, I'm working on it. So now that you're saying it again, it means that that's something I'll definitely give another thought. But I do have a program for busy moms and busy dads to write their first book in 30 days. And that program came it was inspired by my most recent book, my 17th book that I should have written in, a short time, but took me 5 years because of procrastination, because of the busy life of being a busy mom, a busy dad, or a busy husband. So I felt like I needed to help people. In fact, I was working on my 18th book when I felt a pull from within and I heard a voice inside telling me, you want to write an 18th book when there are people out there struggling and groping in pain trying to grapple their way through their first book and they need help. You should put yourself out there to help these people. And then that hit me, and I said, okay, let me put a hold on this 18th one and help these people who would let me help them with a system that has always worked for me to write your book in record time in 30 days.
Okay, you have the floor for 2 minutes. What would you like to tell my audience that's out there, that's at work watching me, that's everywhere around the world watching me? What would you like to say to them? Influence them with whatever you, because you're smart.
Yep. So I'd like to say something that you can ignite your creativity in 4 moves. Many years ago, I came out to start my car and the car wouldn't just start. And thankfully, after waiting for hours, someone came and helped me jumpstart my car battery in 4 moves. The first move, he went into his car, he got his external power source. The second move, he opened his bonnet. The third move, he connected his external power source to my battery. The fourth move, he asked me to start my car, and that ignited the engine. You have to ignite your creativity, and you can do that in 4 moves. The reason why many people think they are not creative, or the reason why many people are not manifesting their creativity, is because they have the order wrong. So they try to do creative things because they see people doing those creative things. And when they do that, they start thinking, well, maybe this thing is not working. Maybe this thing is not for me. Or maybe I'm not wired for this. Or maybe it's my accent. Or maybe it's my skin color. And then they start feeling they are not creative. I've talked to many, many people, many entrepreneurs that say, I never thought I was creative. I never felt I was creative. They start having that anxiety that they will never be able to amount to anything that their creativity can actually make them. And then they become the person that cannot create. That's the fourth move. And this is the 4 moves set in the wrong order. Now, what will be the right order? The right order will be to first be creative by dialing in your state of being, understanding your identity, that you are not your certificate, you are not your skin color, you are not what people say you are, but you are who God says you are. When you dial in your identity, your purpose, and your belief systems, then you start feeling creative. And what does it mean to start feeling creative? You start feeling like, wow, you have what it takes to actually manifest your gifts, your skills, and your talent. And you start having joyful anticipation that you would actually succeed if you try. And then that produces a conviction. The third move is that you start thinking creative. What does it mean to start thinking creative? You start thinking of you start dreaming up and thinking of ideas and ways, brainstorming ways that you can actually walk around the roadblocks that would otherwise have stopped you from succeeding. So let's say, for example, you want to write a book. That's the creative activity you want to do. Normally there will be roadblocks, there will be challenges, there will be appointments, there will be schedule conflicts. But because you are now thinking creative, because you have a good idea of what it means to be in the state of being creative and to feel creative, you'll be able to brainstorm ways that you can work around those roadblocks to actually manifest your creativity. And that's how you'll be able to figure out ideas to overcome the challenges and the problems you face along the way. When you have that dialed in, you can now do creative things, you can now manifest your creativity, and that is how you can ignite your creativity. I don't know if I overshot my 2 minutes, but that's what I would like to leave with the audience.
Come to
And
the
if you like
United
to
States. Come on
what?
to the United States with your family. Like, seriously, you have so much you can offer. Seriously. Oh my God, I don't care if it's more than 3 or 4 minutes. So, how can the people reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me on my Instagram at Iredafe Owolabi. You can reach me on my Facebook page at Iredafe Owolabi. You can also reach me via my website. I have a website, iredafeowolabi.net. IREDAFEOWOLABI.net. That way you can reach me, and you can also find me on Amazon. My name is pretty unique, so you'd never miss it when you put that name on any search engine, be it Facebook, Amazon, LinkedIn, Google, or whatever search engine we have right now. So that way you can easily connect with me.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Daffy, for being a member of the Kimberly Cloud Show. You're part of the family now, and you take care, be safe, stay on the line, and I will see y'all again like in a bit. Hold on. See y'all later.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.